Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I wanted to go over a topic that was pretty requested in a lot of different ways, and I'm going to summarize it and basically word it like this. We're going to talk about how avoidants act when you're, just an option or someone that they're still on the fence about versus someone that they feel pretty sure about and they're committed to. We're going to talk about that today. And we're going to break it up in a couple different subjects. And we're going to take each of those subjects and we're going to compare it to when they treat you like an option versus when they treat you like the one. And then we're going to summarize just those quick points at the end, okay? So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. The very first one is actually the difference of how they react to their own triggers, okay? Now, I know this might be a little confusing, but just stay with me. I hope it makes sense. When an avoidant sees you as just an option, often what happens is when you suggest something that could be triggering for them, they're actually pretty nonchalant about it. They are not necessarily affected. It kind of goes over them. They're not triggered. While they're not responsive to it, they're not necessarily triggered. Now, why is this occurring? Because avoidance, when they're triggered, it is because it has some meaning for them. You cannot necessarily have an emotional reaction to something that you don't have some emotional value towards, okay? I'm not saying that you should go trigger them to test them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that you're going to run into each other's triggers regardless. No matter what stage of the relationship, you're going to see it at some point, right? And so how do they treat you when you're actually the one for them? Usually, if you matter to them, they're going to have some form of a reaction. Likely it's going to look a little negative, to be honest, if you're triggering them, but there is going to be a reaction. Now, a lot of people kind of have brought this topic up, and this is common in general, not necessarily psychological, but I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this, where people say the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. That's kind of what this is. Hate, not hate, but a very strong negative emotion is of the same as love. Like they're close and fit. Whereas indifference or nonchalant or full on detachment, that is definitely a little bit closer to maybe there's not much emotional attachment, okay? Now, it depends, but usually, especially if it's for their triggers, okay? The next one is trying to make it work. I see this a lot in session. A lot of times how avoidants act when the relationship is on, its last legs, not its last legs, but the relationship is really struggling. You can really see how people act. Even if they're showing disinterest and trying to fix it, there's still an emotion where there's almost like a part of them that wishes the relationship could be fixed. They just don't know how to do it. And I'm going to explain that. When an avoidant sees you as an option, or really anyone sees you as an option and they're using you, there's actually no attempt at all to try and make it work. And when I mean this, I mean there's no arguments, there's no disagreements, there's no suggestion, and there's not even any blame. Because blame, whether you realize it or not, is a form of a reaction that the person is feeling like they want this resolved somehow, but they don't want to take responsibility. But that shows that they have some emotional investment. I know this is a little confusing, but when somebody is blaming something, that means there's some sort of reaction to it. There's some sort of value. Maybe they don't want to take accountability, which is an issue in of itself, but there is some emotion, there is some care, right? When there is a form of disagreement, even if there's like a continuous disagreement that's really, really annoying, right? That is still a sign they're trying to make it work. Whether they realize it or not, that doesn't mean anything. Their awareness does not necessarily deflect the reality, okay? When somebody engages with disagreement, or they attempt to blame or suggest or pick on you even, that is an attempt to want to be heard. Why are they blaming you? They're saying, whatever this issue is that I don't like, it's your fault. I'm not saying to take it. What I am saying is they see the issue because they don't want it to be there. That means that there is a small part of them that wants to make the relationship work. If they're not doing any of those things, of course, this relationship doesn't have as much investment as somebody who has an emotional response to it, okay? So when trying to make it work, sometimes people get confused because you're seeing negative reactions on your partner's side and you think they don't care. they do care, or they get really, really overwhelmed and they pull away, but that's also because they care. If they're sitting there and just letting you say whatever and they're kind of like, okay, whatever, they're shrugging it off, they're detached, that is a sign that they're not necessarily invested, okay? The next one is progress, okay? If there is no progress at all and there's no sense of them opening up or showing any sort of emotion from their side at all, this is unfortunately a sign that you might be an option, okay? Now, if you're a person that's very valuable to them, they are slowly opening up. It might take a little bit, but there is signs of them opening up. It does happen. And I know this one is a little tricky because it takes a lot longer, but if you sit and evaluate and try and think about what they were like when they first met you versus now, that can kind of help to see, okay, are they pretty much the exact same? There's no progress? Or have they made a little bit of progress even though it's not enough for you? Is it there? If the answer is yes, this is a great sign. If the answer is no, unfortunately, this might be a possibility that you might be an option or someone that they're not necessarily invested in, okay? The next one is your perspective, okay? I'm going to call this like excuses, but I'm not, that's a placeholder word. You guys know I'm not the best with words. From your side, are you making excuses for every little thing and accepting every small crumb they give you? Avoidants don't give you much. So I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, but if you have all of these signs and you're also making excuses, unfortunately, that could be a sign that something might not be adding up one way or another. Now, there's another way that I feel like is more common when the person is the one for you, you're the one for them, vice versa, is you feel like it's not enough and you're very frustrated, rightfully so, I'm sure. But when you take a step back and analyze it, you can honestly admit that there is some effort on their side. Even though it's very annoying, it's not enough, you're frustrated, you guys are having fights, you're arguing, whatever it is, but it's not such a point where there's literally nothing and you're just making it up out of thin air. There is something there. That's why you're so upset, right? You're not just imagining things and pretending. This is a very real connection that you guys have, and you're frustrated for a reason. That probably was confusing, but I really don't know how else to explain it. It's something that I observe more in couples or individual therapy. Honestly, it's a little more common in that regard. That's something I observe more, so it's hard to explain it, but I hope it made sense. If you guys have questions, like, ask it in the comments. Hopefully I can clear it up. And the next one is expectations, okay? I think this one is probably the most important one. When you're an option, they have no expectations for you. If anything, this is maybe the only one that really matters like the most. This one matters the absolute most. I have never seen it where this does not matter in relationships with an avoidant. If you're an option, they don't have expectations for you at all. However, if you're the one, someone they care about, they have a lot of expectations for you. Maybe too much, and that's another thing you guys can work on, but they have expectations for you. They point things out that they don't like. Every little thing, they're going to have some sort of expectation. They want certain things a certain way. The reason why is avoidants are like this with everything in their life. They're picky about their cars. They're picky about the house they're going to buy. They're picky about the career they're going to choose. They're picky about, some of them, the clothes they're going to wear, the food they eat. And so when something matters to them, they are unfortunately very picky. Now, it's not necessarily healthy to transfer that onto a partner, but it happens very frequently. And so while it's very frustrating that they are very nitpicky, it is a sign that you are someone they find is just going to be part of their life forever, because that's what they do with their forever things. They're picky about it and they want it better. A lot of them struggle with perfectionism, with themselves, with everything they care about. And I hope this video made some sense. I'm going to try and summarize it. It's a little bit harder to summarize this one, but I'm just going to mention the overall points that make sense that you have to look out for. The difference between if you're an option versus the one is how they react in terms of their triggers, their own triggers, how they react when they're trying to make it work, how they behave in their progress, how you feel about them if you're making excuses or if you're frustrated, rightfully so, but you can look back and see if there's something good happening, or if they have expectations for you. So those are 5 of the ways that you can kind of evaluate where are you more leaning towards with your partner, okay? I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I will see you in the next one.